Good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you're watching us right around the world. We are at Iowa Speedway for the most recent 131 Web Radio ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series. And here with us tonight, as always, as per regular in the truck series, we got Danny G. How you going, Daniel?
Good, mate. How's things? It's going to be a good race tonight.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping for it to be a good race tonight. We've got a nice big field here once again. It's been a very popular series this time around the ANZCAR Truck Series, and I think that's borne out by the size of the fields that we're actually seeing here. We're seeing mostly experienced guys out here tonight, but there's quite a few newcomers as well, just out there. And one of them is actually sitting top of the timesheets at the moment, Reece Saunders, who's actually one of our friends over from the UK and Ireland club of iRacing. So racing from a fair way away. I'm not quite sure what time of day it is over there, but if you are watching us from over there, somebody to cheer on. You've got a local here in the race, and he is top of the time standings at the moment. But we've got a few other guys dotted throughout the field who may not be quite as experienced, so it'll be interesting to see how they go tonight. But a good selection of drivers turning out tonight.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, Reece Saunders, he's almost a tenth quicker than Jason Williams here. That's a good run by Jason Williams.
Yeah, only by, like you say, only by a tenth. Not really sure what Reece is doing in terms of long runs, how he's been. But most of the guys looking fairly consistent out there. There hasn't been too many spins or wrecks during practice, especially from the guys that you would expect to see being quite safe. And I guess the guys who are more experienced, you'd expect them to be fairly consistent at this track. But very much, I don't want to say it's a one groove racetrack because it isn't, but at the same time, it's definitely the high line is the preferred line. Seems to be a lot of these guys running that high line. But a few guys have been managing to get passing moves done down the bottom too. So it should be interesting to see the approach that these guys actually take to the longer runs.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I know at night time, I think high line's preferred. I'm not too sure in the day, but you've always got a first few laps, good 5 laps on the bottom before it usually does move up. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
So we do have, as Daniel mentioned there, we are racing here in the day. That means a hotter track. It means a slicker track. And the track temperature tonight, 33 degrees Celsius, which isn't as hot as we've seen it, but still reasonably warm. So we might just have a quick look over the points as well before we actually get stuck into the qualifying. Qualifying set to begin in just a few seconds' time. So just looking at the graphic here, we've got Chris Purnell. He's still leading this championship on 157 points, but Matt Danson only 2 points behind after that magnificent win. A fantastic drive that he put in last week. Jason Williams still sitting there solid. The rookie, he's there in third place. Jackson Callow drops down to fourth. Will Barrington sitting there in fifth on 136 points. And then looking back behind Barrington, we've got Nicholas Walsh, Michael Skurlock, Ryan Jones, Damon Stockton and Ricky Cornwall, who are all very well closely packed in there together. It's only a handful of points really covering first down to 10th. So tonight could have a very big bearing on the way this series pans out.
Yeah, definitely good. Like you said, the top 10's pretty much within a race of each other. And Jason Martin in 11th, but he's missed the race. So yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. We're still early on in this season. It's been a great season, best season I've seen. Yeah, it's going to be really good.
It's been an absolute cracker of a season. You're quite right. It's fantastic to see the amount of winners that we've seen and the amount of contenders that we've seen up the front. So just moving into qualifying now. The practice has just finished. The guys have finished. They've got in all the practice they're able to get, and now they've got 2 fast laps to actually deliver the best possible time they can. And I'm just having a look here at the number 35 truck of Joshua Carroll Walden. He's seemed reasonably sort of pacey throughout the practice session. He's just pulling out for his first run in this qualifying session. So running sort of mid-track there as he winds up to start his fast lap, coming past the pit lane entrance right up there next to the wall. That's good to see. He's using as much of the track as he can possibly get. And as he dives down through 1 and 2, really sort of holding that central line as he comes through onto the back straight. So I think, Daniel, for this particular track, are you expecting the first or the second lap to be the fastest?
Oh, I mean, I usually bank on the first lap being the fastest, but I guess if you get it wrong, you do have a chance on that second lap.
Okay, well, old JCW's just gone top of the timesheet. It's only a couple of guys put in laps so far, but he's done a 23.471. So I guess we'll answer that question about which lap is going to be fastest, because we'll see if he's able to improve on this second lap. I would suspect that he won't be able to. I would kind of agree with you, Daniel, that the first lap is most likely to be the fastest. But as he crosses the line this time through, does he improve? He does not improve. He's a couple of tenths slower, and just while that's been going on, he's actually dropped down to fourth, with Reece Saunders taking that top spot at the moment.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good time. It's just slightly slower than his practice time, so he's going to look good for the pole. And some fast drivers have sort of gone out behind him.
Just watching Tristan Koch here in the number 43 as well. He's actually just started his first time lap, and he's running a bit of a different line that we saw from Josh Carroll-Walden. He's got a little bit low quite early on in the turn. I think that may have actually compromised his exit just a little bit. And he's running very low. He's almost got a couple of wheels down onto the flat there through 3 and 4, and just come onto the outside, just running across the line. He's running very high across the line, and he's actually gone slowest of all so far, the guys who've actually set the times. That's 24.123. We'll just stick with him for his second lap. He's running a little bit higher on this lap, which seems to be the line that a couple of the faster guys have been running. So we'll just keep an eye on him. And he is ducking nice and low though in that turn 3 and 4. I'm not sure that that's probably the way to do it, but we'll see if that pays dividends for him as he crosses the line for a second time and does not improve. So he's going to stay stone cold last at the moment, unfortunately for him.
And I'm just looking at Matt Danson, but I think he's on lap 2, and I think that one won't count either. So I don't know if he's going to be able to post the time. Oh no, he does. 15th.
15th position, a lot lower than we're used to seeing Matt Danson. Obviously won the last round so convincingly, and it's got to be a fight for him to make his way back up. Just taking a look through the field now to see if there's anybody else just sort of starting their qualifying run. Most drivers look as though they're just actually finishing that off. Not seeing too much in the way of action of guys just sort of pulling out and starting their runs. Just actually scrolling through. Jason Martin we haven't seen on the track yet, which is surprising, but he may be looking to start from the pit lane and avoid the carnage. I guess this track a little bit renowned in ANZCAR for a bit of carnage, but there are, the best part of, say, 12 drivers there who haven't actually set a time as yet. Not seeing any of them at the moment. In fact, as I say that, we have Damon Stockton going out onto the track in the number 696 DPR Ben Max machine. And he's going to come around and go to start his fast lap. He's staying nice and high, making the track as long as possible, building up as much speed as he possibly can to get a flying start to this run.
Yeah, we'll see what he does down in turn 1. If he keeps the high line, which he keeps about the middle, sort of coming down onto the inside there and back out to the outside.
Yeah, he seems to be dropping down a lot later than some of the other guys we've actually watched, but he looks to be backing out of that lap, actually. He looks like he's actually backed out of that lap, and may have caused some sort of issue, but he's going back out on the track again, so I think there may have actually been an issue for him. So he's only really going to having started that lap 1, he's only going to have 1 lap now to actually get that done. The first lap has been the fastest lap, as we've seen, so it shouldn't affect him too much, apart from maybe mentally. So as he runs around through turn 3 and 4 to start this second attempt here, we'll see if he takes that later apex again through 1 and 2.
He cuts down a little bit. We'll just see what happens coming off the corner again. I don't know what happened last time. He seems to be going for it this time.
Yeah, seems to be a lot happier with it this time, dropping quite low in 3 and 4. Just pulling up out of there. Will he get it turned before the wall? Oh, very, very close to the wall. I think that might have actually cost him a little bit of time, actually. But he's come across the line, and what has he done? He's actually done a 23.545, and that will slot him into 8th position. We've got Riley Curtis out there on the track as well. He's actually on his 2nd lap. But he hasn't registered a time yet, so I can only assume that he's actually perhaps done something to invalidate that first lap. So this second lap is going to be all crucial for Riley as he comes across the line, and he hasn't registered a time. So in those 2 laps, he has not registered a time. Chris Purnell as well, just sitting at the end of the pit lane at the moment. Haven't seen him yet. He's just pulling out to the track. And our championship leader, of course, in the number 920 Alliance Motorsports truck. So we would be expecting to see just on the on the basis of what we've seen so far this season, a fairly fast lap from Chris.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you want to be up the front. You don't really want to get into the middle like we spoke about before.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't really. It's quite a hard track. I mean, people say that oval tracks, how's it hard to overtake at an oval track, but at this place there really is sort of one groove that is fast, and everything else is a bit of a compromise. So it can be hard to get that move done. But we're just watching Chris now. He's coming along the back straight and just diving down into turns 3 and 4. Not got as low as some of the other guys that we've seen. So as he comes out, he looks to get a much smoother exit than, say, the guys before him did. And he's only got 11th fastest with that. So he's just started his second lap. We'll see if he's able to improve. He's dropped a lot lower in turn 1 and 2 than he had before. Just running along that back straight there. We're just going to watch to see what kind of line he takes into 3 and 4. He's staying up a bit higher through 3 and 4 this time. So maybe trying out something a little bit different. Maybe not happy with how that worked last time. And we'll see if he's able to improve with such a different lap this time. And he has not improved. He's got 3 tenths slower actually, so he's going to be starting outside the top 10.
Yeah, he's going to be disappointed with that. Mind you, this is what happened last week too. He started outside the top 10 and managed to get a good. Riley Curtis still on track, but his times are invalidated.
But we have got Jason Martin in the number 21 starting his lap. He's on his first lap right now, and he's generally a pretty good benchmark. He's an absolute master of qualifying, Jason Martin, although he's yet to win a race in this season. He's very, very handy at the qualifying, and he is running that really low line that some of the faster guys haven't actually run yet, but funnily enough, some of the slower guys have. So we'll see what he comes through with on this first lap, and as per usual, he's gone straight to the top of the timesheets for that one with a 23.197. So we'll see if he improves on this second lap. If anyone can, he can. I'm not 100% sure that he will, and he's actually got a bit of a slide there, got a bit loose, so I'm positive he will not be improving on this second lap.
No, not at all, but yeah, what a good time.
Fantastic time. Just looking out there now, we've got the number 313 of Ben Doherty. He's just coming around to start his lap. Runner-up in last season's Truck Championship, of course, in that thrilling final race duel with Michael Skurlock. But he's actually running very, very high actually through 1 and 2, and it looks as though he may be cancelling that lap and having another go at it, because it looks as though he may have messed that one up or possibly touched the wall, which will have invalidated that lap. So he's actually dropped back to the pit lane, just keeping a quick eye on him. Yes, he is taking off again. So we'll just stick with Ben Doherty here. We'll see if he's able to put up a respectable time and perhaps even move up into that top 10.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the replay. He just completely missed turn 1. He just overdrove it and ended up way too high out of the groove. So he backed out and started again.
All right, so here he goes. Coming up now to cross the line to start his first lap, which will actually be his second lap, but his first flying lap that he's likely to complete. So just coming through now, running a lot higher than Jason Martin did. Seems to be the general consensus among most that that midline's the way to go, but Jason certainly proved that might not be the case there, running the low line, and Ben running quite high actually through 3 and 4. So I'm not really sure what kind of time we're going to expect out of Ben here as he comes across the line, and he has registered P8. So he's got right up there. So it really does show in terms of the Iowa Speedway, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think he just felt that he could get more momentum coming up the top off turn 4 there. Than the other people. But yeah, you definitely can shave off time, but obviously when you're binding the car down low on that apron, you're sort of washing off speed going down the straight.
All right, so just taking a bit of a scroll through the guys who are yet to run and seeing if we've got anyone about to head out. We've got Jason Bentz actually sitting at the end of the pit lane at the moment. Remains to be seen whether he's going to head out, but just sort of scrolling through. In fact, we've run out of time. Qualifying has gone by that quickly that there's going to be quite a few guys there that haven't actually set a time. So just as they do grid up, we'll run through your grid. We'll run through your starting grid here for this race here at Iowa Speedway. Jason Martin, almost invariably the man on pole, and he does take pole once again. He's sitting there on first position with Reece Saunders outside of him on row 1. Then we've got Jackson Callow and Dave Douglas on row 2. Jason Williams and Josh Carroll Walden, old JCW there on row 3. Ricky Cornwall row 4. Row 5 is Michael Skurlock and Damon Stockton. Going back to row 6, we've got Matt Hunter and Bradley Cheney. Good result there from Cheney, actually. You don't normally see him qualify that high, but he's got a great lap in there at only 0.001 slower than his fastest practice time. Then we've got a championship leader, Chris Purnell and Lewis Hewitt joining him on the 7th row. Then Gavin Sadler and James Robbie, the teammates, sharing the 8th row. Nicholas Walsh and Stephen Williams back there on the 9th row. And the 10th row, Kyle Stevens and Matt Danson are current 2nd place in the championship with a bit of work to do. Then looking back behind them, we've got Aaron Wilton and Brett Wheeler, Todd Maxfield and Kevin Bomford, Tristan Koch and Jake Maloney, the guy who's done so well in the last couple of rounds of the Thunder Series, starting back there in 26th position. Expect him to come forward in that number 29. And then we've got Darren McKenzie, Jason Bentz, John Schultz, Riley Curtis, Michael Latter and Mick Taylor rounds out your field of 32 trucks tonight.
Yeah, it's a big field. I expect to see cautions in a lot of the races, but I've been proved wrong pretty much all season. I reckon we'll get a few in this one though.
Yeah, we certainly are expecting, just based on the history of this particular venue, that there would be a few wrecks, especially early on. And like we say, I mean, not to put the mockers on quite a very diverse range of experience levels amongst the drivers that we've got out there tonight. And some of the less experienced guys are actually starting quite high up the field. So whether they'll be, as Rowdy Burns famously said in the movie Days of Thunder, get your own car and see how you do in the crowd. It's a lot different running in a pack to running alone, and there certainly is an amount of racecraft that's actually required to survive a race like this. So we'll see what they manage.
Yeah, we will. 125 laps. It's quite a long race. If we get some green flag racing, it should be actually quite fun. I don't think we've really experienced too much green flag racing here in the past, but yeah, it would actually be good to see what happens on the long runs.
Well, just watching Jason Martin, your pole sitter here, and just keeping an eye on that pace car. Looks as though they are taking a second pace lap just to get themselves sorted out and give everyone a chance just to get themselves in position and ready to go. But of course, that purple number 21, as so often we have seen, sitting there on the pole position with Reese on the outside of him. There's Reese Saunders there, and I'm very interested to see what he's going to be able to do. I've raced against him only once, and he certainly proved very, very quick on that occasion. So definitely with his speed, it would be a great pleasure to see him continue on in ANZCAR competition. I think he's got to be a welcome member of it if his race is anywhere near as good as he qualifies.
Yeah, it would do. Yeah, you don't see him too often, but he does seem to be fast. I think the big factor here is Jackson Callow in third. I think he's going to have a good go trying to get the lead here. Well,
Callow's had the pace to win every race so far this season, and it'll be a source of frustration for him that he hasn't actually done that. So I would be keeping an eye out for him to definitely make an aggressive start. He's got Dave Douglas, who's a wily old fox himself there on the outside. So let's just take a look as the pace car drops off. Jason Martin goes, and looks like Callow's going to try and get a bit of an overlap on Saunders and try and take that second position away. But as we know, that top line very, very good around here. It looks as though Saunders is actually going to keep it for the time being, at the very least, in second place.
Yeah, the inside line still gets a good grip here in the first couple laps, but he definitely gives it up there. We'll have to see if he can close that gap there between Douglas. But I think Douglas has got this too. And already gets
Callow's loose. Callow's gone. Callow is gone. He's gone into the, I'm not sure if he made, no, it doesn't look like he's made any impact there, but he certainly rotated that truck, and he's going to rejoin right at the back of this field.
Yeah, no caution flag. And in the meantime, Josh Carroll Walden, he's got that spot, and he's racing alongside Dave Douglas here in turn 4.
And as we say that, we've seen Reese Saunders really close in on the back of Jason Martin as well. Jason's still leading, but probably not by as much as he was even at the end of the last lap. As we watch those two, and we're just sort of looking back, as you mentioned, Dan, the 10 of Jason Martin and the number 35 of Josh Carroll Walden. It looks as though Josh may have actually come out best in that, but Dave coming back around the outside.
Yeah, he just probably can't get there. I think Josh is going to slide up, and he does that. But yeah, Reese Saunders up here.
Yeah, certainly giving him a very good run.
Yeah, he is. We know what Jason does on the long runs, though. He likes to sort of pace himself early, but expecting a lot of cautions. He might not be pacing himself early. And these guys' lines are right down the bottom.
Yeah, a few guys really running that low line there. We can see one of the DPR Bedmax trucks running down there. I think that might be Ricky Cornwall, and we do have a caution on track. Just take a quick look around and see if we
Big
can
one.
find out what's happened there.
The 98, I think it's Stephen Williams. He gets loose in turn 4. That's a big one.
Yeah, the 98 was involved, and also Michael Latter, I believe, was involved as well. Just sort of came up on him, and he was firmly embedded in the outside of that turn 4 wall. So it appears as though the 98 and the 2 have got into one another. And there seems to have actually been a few guys involved in that. I think Tristan Koch might have been involved in that. A few other guys as well. Bit of struggle early on for a few of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just watching the replay now. Stephen Williams, he just comes up on the back of the car in front of him and he gets loose and he overcorrects into the outside wall, hits Matt Dance, and he comes down and blocks the track for everybody. The 2 was pretty much innocent in all that. That was a big crash. There's a lot of damaged trucks in that.
All right, so just looking at the guys who were involved in that, in terms of the guys who have actually taken damage and head to the pit lane, Stephen Williams in the number 98, as we did mention, Matt Danson, as Daniel mentioned just then, Kevin Bomford, Tristan Koch, and Michael Latter, who has 3 laps down already, actually, so I'm not sure if he may have been a lap truck in all of that, but just looking back to the front, Jason Martin is leading the pack. He's sitting in there behind the pace car, and we'll just have a quick look here to see if he dives for pit road. It's quite early on, obviously, but it looks as though not everyone's staying out at this point. I think I can see one of the Alliance trucks. That might be Skurlock, actually. Skurlock's heading in, and it might be a little bit of an Alliance strategy, because it looks as though Chris Purnell is also following his teammate down pit road.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought a lot more people would take that opportunity. 6 laps, that is quite some wear on this kind of race.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I was a bit surprised not to see Jason Martin pull in, but a lot of guys sort of following Jason's lead, I think. But it looks as though the Alliance trucks here just having a bit of a look to see if they can get a bit of an advantage on fresh tyres, make some spots. We see Jackson Callow rolling in as well. Of course, we saw him have that accident at the start, have that spin. And he'll get some fresh boots on that, try and come from the back. Jake Maloney, who we know is a very good strategist, he's taken tyres as well. And I think Darren McKenzie's taken tyres as well. So there's going to be quite a few, not just fast trucks because they're on fresh tyres, but there's going to be some fast drivers back there in the pack as well. So they're going to be looking to make some inroads up the front.
Yeah, they definitely are. It's going to be interesting watching these guys come from the back. Yeah, another thing I can think of is maybe the front run is banking on more yellows so they can sort of stay out there for a little bit longer and the field come down together at that stage. Yeah, it's going to play out pretty interesting.
I think the assumption would be, especially from guys who've got experience at this venue, that there would be at least another couple of cautions, because it's almost become a little bit renowned, this place, for cautions. People take and people tend to get a little bit impatient to try and move up if they're being held up, and if you can't get it done, it almost always involves a wreck. So that's okay. We've got a few fast guys now there at the back of the field, and as they line up ready to go, just keep an eye on the lights on that pace car to see if they're going to go out, and we're going to be 1 lap to go, or we're going to be 2 laps to go. But it looks as though the lights are still on in that pace car, so we're going to have at least another lap after this one of caution flag before we get running once again.
Yeah, yep. Definitely the lights are out. We're just going through turn 2 now onto the back stretch, ready for the restart. The person that's popped up in third is Carol Walden. He's showed a lot of speed pretty much everywhere he runs too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. He's pretty much replaced Jackson Callow here, and I expect him to challenge for the lead.
Well, it's interesting, Josh Carroll Walden. You know, he had a really, like last season, he had a really good purple patch where he was right up the front all the time. I think he won a K&N race and really sort of played himself into contention as a real serious contender for a lot of top fives and so on. And just recently, I'm not sure what sort of happened, but he's dropped away a little bit. And it'd be great to see that this race would be the start of that resurgence to get back to the area that we know he's capable of running, which is right up the front. He's definitely got that ability to do that, and if he's able to harness that and deliver week on week, we're certainly going to see a lot more of him, that's for sure.
Yeah, we definitely will. We are going for one more pace lap though. Maybe the lights went out on the pace car.
No, did come to that conclusion at the end that the pace car wasn't quite ready to dive off yet. But there's a few guys just coming out of the pits. John Schultz looks like he's actually just managed to get out of the pits and come around again. He's looking to catch the end of that pace line. He's pretty much at race pace at the moment, trying to catch back up to the rear end of that pack before we do go green.
And here we come. The pace car's just about to jump off into a pit lane. It's a hard left-hand turn. He left skid marks there last time around.
It looks like he's going to reef hard left again, and the field will come under Jason Martin's control. And Jason goes, and Saunders tries to go with him. Always hard starting there on the outside of row one, because you're really sort of basing it. On when the leader goes, you can't be ahead of him when the pace car, when the green final goes, you can't be ahead of him. So a few guys, so it looks like most of the guys sort of tucking in nicely. A few guys sort of running 2 by 2 at the moment. Hopefully they're able to sort themselves out with a nice long green flag stretch here. I'm very interested to see who's got the pace to run with Martin. It looks as though Saunders possibly does. He looked as though he was putting a little bit of pressure on before that caution came out, and just sort of just for all the followers of Matt Danson out there, he is sitting there in the pit lane still, getting repairs on that number 30 truck.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think his race is done. But the guys look pretty settled here in the back, as I just almost watched a person coming off turn 4. You got Chris Purnell now on the inside, almost making it 3 wide going into turn 1.
Yeah, well, let's remember, Chris Purnell actually took tyres. He was one of the few to take tyres at that last stop, and he's really sort of cut his way through. He's overtaken Skurlock, his teammate, and he's overtaken Robbie, and I think it's Cheney in there as well. As we just watched Skurlock go down the inside of Cheney. They are 3 wide at the moment. Cheney gets perilously close to the tailgate of James Robbie, actually, and looks as though Purnell's just pulling up to the back of Brett Wheeler. And Brett Wheeler, we haven't seen too much of him in ANZCAR. He only actually joined the league this afternoon, believe it or not, and is running in the Monday night trucks tonight. And if you think that name sounds familiar, he actually runs Ultimate Dirt TV, who is one of the other broadcasters out there, apart from obviously ourselves, V8's Online, and a few of the other broadcasters there. And he does a really good job actually broadcasting the Australian Speedway League and the dirt track racing that we see. So great to see him out here tonight on the asphalt having a run in that number 56.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm sure he's going to be fans of us after getting all this airtime. But yeah, Chris Purnell up into 12th. He's just picked up 3 spots, and he's on the move with those 4 fresh tyres.
He certainly is, moving up to the back of Gavin Sadler now. We might just stay with Purnell to actually see a little bit of overtaking take place, because he has got those fresh tyres. Duck into the inside of Sadler. Is he going to get that move done? How many spots is he going to be able to make before his fat actually gets loose on that bottom line, and is now coming under threat from Gavin's teammate James Robbie in the number 41, just holding on there around the outside. Just looking up in front of them, we can see Matt Hunter running up there as well, nearly getting into the back of the truck in front of him. And it looks as though perhaps the best of those fresh tyres for Purnell may have actually been used, because he's not firing through the pack as quick as he was, but I think he's still got the pace to some superior pace, but whether he's got enough of a pace differential to actually make too many more spots on those fresh tyres remains to be seen.
Yeah, the tyres definitely do even out to where they're pretty similar. I mean, they only did have 5-6 green flag laps on them, so it wasn't too much. He's probably burnt through them quite early. The front seems pretty stagnant, although Reese Saunders almost clips the wall coming off turn 2. Everything's pretty much single file up here, though.
And just have a look at the way that Jason Martin, you saw Jason in qualifying, and he was running the low line for that qualifying lap, and that's what allowed him to set that really fast lap that actually got him pole position. But he's sort of altering his line each turn. Turns 1 and 2 he's running quite low still, as Saunders was. But have a look at him now through 3 and 4. If he does what he did last lap, and he is doing that, he's actually sticking quite high through 3 and 4. So I can guarantee you that's a tyre saving measure from Jason. He seems to have this encyclopedic knowledge of every track that these trucks go to, and the cars and everything else for that matter, all of these oval tracks. He knows exactly where to run to get the most out of those tyres. And if you look back to Saunders, he's running low through most turns. He's actually running low through 3 and 4 as well, as Josh Carroll-Walden is. And I think that's, knowing Jason as I do, I would imagine that Jason will get better tyre life than the 2 guys behind him. And once those tyres start to suffer, he'll start to extend the gap if we remain green.
Yeah, and he takes his entrance to turn 1 a lot later too, so he's up a little bit higher before he hits his apex. Through 3 and 4 he's up high, and that will save a lot of tyres.
Absolutely. So he's one of those who, yeah, like I say, he's sort of got that knowledge of every one of these tracks and seems to be able to bang in a quick lap without doing too much practice or anything. He's got so much experience. But I think that Saunders would do well, and Josh Carroll Walden, for that matter, would do well to actually follow the line that Jason is running at the moment.
Sorry, Edward, the 56 just got hooked up into the wall, but remained caution-free. He actually saved it. He hit the wall pretty hard, but he's managed to save that in the race.
So, yeah, looks like, just looking back, look at the battle that's in front of the number 56 there. I've just come back to have a look at him, but have a look at this battle that's going on in front. There's so many drivers just up there amongst it. We've got Wheeler sort of hanging on the back. We've got Callow, we've got Walsh, we've got the number 25 in there as well, which I think is Wilton. We've got Cheney, we've got Riley Curtis, all just running there in the pack. We've got the number 100 of Jason Bentz in there as well. A lot of guys just, it's nice and calm up the front, but it's an absolute furball back here with all these guys fighting amongst one another, trying to make those spots. And while the guys out the front are running quite serenely, these guys are battling over the back end of the top 20, and even back into the low 20 sort of positions. So these guys are all sort of frantically trying to get through this pack and make some inroads at the front, but seem to be unable to do it at the moment.
Yeah, they seem to settle down a little bit now running single file, but that was pretty intense a couple of laps ago. They were 3-4 wide, they were everywhere.
And I mean, even just having a look at some of the faster guys here, I mean, we've got Jake Maloney, we've got Riley Curtis and Aaron Wilton, and those guys are quick. And of course, Callow, we've already spoken about. And those guys are running sort of 16th, 17th, 18th, and Callow must be way out of position because he's there in 25th position at the moment. So he must actually be a lap down. So these guys, who you would expect to see higher up the grid, are not high up at the moment. So definitely going to be looking to work their way forward. And just as I say that, I'll skip forward to have a look at a couple of the Alliance trucks. And Skurlock very nearly went into the back of his teammate and team leader, team owner, team boss, Chris Purnell there as well. And Purnell now just working away on the back of Matt Hunter. And in front of those, we've got actually Ricky Cornwall and Lewis Hewitt, who's a newcomer to ANZCAR as well, running there. And it looks as though Hewitt and Cornwall running side by side. Cornwall's been very aggressive the last couple of rounds as well. And I'm not sure how long Hewitt's going to want to hang in around the bottom there. In fact, he doesn't. He pops up and actually gives best to Cornwall, though he keeps running that low line, and he's just got loose, actually. Hewitt's got loose. Will he catch it? He's caught it so far. He's actually done a really good job holding on to that, because once you get loose in these trucks, you actually really overheat those rear tyres, and you can get to the stage where you think that you've caught it and everything's under control. You put your foot back on the throttle and the thing just lights up and turns on you. So he's actually done really well there to hold on to that.
Yeah, he definitely has. The other thing that can happen is you just completely overcorrect and turning right, and it's just still turning left, and then by the time it does overcorrect, straight up into everybody. And I saw those wheels go right, but he managed to turn straight at the very, very good time. That was an awesome save.
And he's just sitting there on the outside now with James Robbie and Darren McKenzie trying to go underneath him. But I think that by now his tyres have probably regained something approaching an appropriate temperature, and he'll be able to get back underway and continue to try and move his way back up to where he was, a little bit further up the field. But just moving back now towards the front of this race, we've got it's still remaining fairly status quo up the front here. Jason Martin leading from about 1.5 seconds from Reece Saunders, and just catching up to a few back markers now. Jason's got John Schultz and Bradley Cheney in front of him, and a little bit of stuff to negotiate. I guess that's one of the things that comes along with these shorter tracks as well. This track just under a mile in length for a lap, and Martin's going to have to negotiate these guys. And if the pace he's running versus the pace that those guys at the back are running continues, he's going to have to lap them a few times this race. So best that he gets used to it now.
Yeah, definitely. I thought he always pretty much slow down a little bit when you catch that lap traffic. Once you clear them, then the second place has to also catch that. But this has been a good green flag run here. It's one of the longest ones that we've seen, and it's producing some interesting racing.
Yeah, it is. I'm just taking a look back at Saunders now in second place. He seems to have just migrated up the track a little way. As I say that, he drops right down through turn 2 and really late apex is sort of the way that we've seen Jason Martin do so far. But notwithstanding the fact that he's going around Schultz on the outside of 3 and 4, I just had a look at him at the end of last lap, and he was taking the same line as well while lapping no one. So it could be that he's felt his truck starting to push as well, and he's decided that it may be time to take care of those tyres and run up high for a little while.
Another thing to consider, because they're still going at it here for 20th place, but Jason Martin is slowly catching them. Or quite quickly, actually. So, they're trying to get a move on, and that's why they're producing so much racing at the back. They're still side by side.
Yeah, they don't. They certainly don't want to drop that lap if they don't have to. I mean, we've still got that pack here that we touched on earlier on, which is now comprising Curtis, Robbie, Callow, Bence, and Wilton, and even back up in front of them, we've got a few of the other trucks battling away together, and that's it's actually causing a fair amount of a thermal there at the moment. I think Gav Sadler's actually may have just got a piece of the wall there, and Mackenzie's gone past both Maloney and he to actually take that position a little bit further up the track. And we've got trouble. Ricky Cornwall into the fence. Ricky Cornwall, it looks as though he had a bit of a coming together with Purnell, but he may have actually been loose before that took place.
That was Matt Hunter.
We've got a caution out on track, and you're quite right, Daniel. Matt Hunter gets into the back of Cornwall, turns him, sends him up into the fence, and he bounces off and just takes the side of Purnell before rotating up against the fence there. So he's turned it back round. He's back underway, but I shan't imagine he's going to be too happy with that, and he's going to have a bit of a charge on from now on. Sure. Just looking forward as well, just taking a look at the truck of Chris Purnell. It doesn't look like he's carrying a little bit of damage in the right side door, but nothing too significant. It's going to slow him up, I don't think.
Yeah, and a shout out to those guys behind him. I mean, everyone was racing for that top line, and Ricky Cornwall's unfortunately stuck on it. And they've done a great job going side by side, 3 wide underneath.
Yeah, for sure. So just taking a look now, Jason Martin, I would expect to see him coming to the pit lane this time. Is he coming to the pit lane? He looks as though he's faking that way. Yes, he is coming that way, and I can't imagine he's not going to bring everyone with him. And he certainly is bringing everyone with him. I don't think anyone staying out on the track who isn't a lap down, and of course isn't allowed under NASCAR rules to pit on the same lap as the leaders. So the leaders will come down this time. The lap traffic will come down next time. And just having a look here at the way the pit stops shake out between these front 3.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see what Jason does, because he sort of does have a few problems every now and again on pit stops. We'll see if he comes out first. They both hit their marks pretty evenly.
Yeah, he's got in there well this time, actually. Pulled up very smartly there at his box. So I shouldn't imagine that Jason's going to have too much trouble coming back out into first place, provided everything else goes to plan. Pit stop does look to be a little bit further far along than Saunders, and they do exit together. And it looks as though Carol Walden's actually been the loser in that one, because I think Dave Douglas might have actually got him coming out of the pits. He has indeed. So looks as though Dave Douglas will take over that 3rd position from Joshua Carol Walden. And just interestingly, I was speaking to Dave Douglas earlier on, and he was saying that these trucks feel very loose around here, especially on the longer runs. After about 10 laps or so, these trucks are starting to feel quite loose. See a caution come out after the number of laps we've had with a spinner.
Well, we are, like, it's a mostly cloudy day. It's 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That's at about the 20 Celsius. So not too hot, not too cold. Definitely out in the sun.
Yeah, so 25 degrees is the ambient temperature, Celsius, and it's 33 degrees on track. So track obviously absorbs that heat. It's a fair bit hotter than the ambient temperature. But in terms of that, a 33-degree track isn't too hot. Sometimes, especially, I think we saw in the last Thunder race that was on, a 47-degree track, which gives you some idea of how hot it can actually get. But pleasant, I think, is the way they would describe this, the weather that we're having here in Iowa.
Yeah, I've got a handful of drivers that, I don't know if they're going to come down pit road this time, and they might be trying to get the wave around. One of them's Jackson Callow. I'd imagine he'd be staying out here, which he does, so he's going to get the wave around with one to go.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need that as well, because like we mentioned earlier on, he was lap down Michael Latta, we can see just diving from the pits here in the 2. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Cheney, Koch, those 2 lads racing team trucks, the 46 and the 16, take that wave around to get themselves back onto the lead lap, because that's where they need to be. And they'll be hoping for another quick caution so they can duck down to keep their position at the back of the pack, but on the lead lap.
I think you got Tristan Koch and Todd Maxfield. They were probably damaged in that earlier incident, and they've been waiting all these laps to sort of get back into the lead lap, even though Koch is quite a number of laps down. And so is Maxfield, so that sort of...
Exactly right. But just having a look at Callow, I mean, Callow is, I guess, at the moment going to regain his position on the lead lap, which is very important for him in terms of making some ground forward. So he's probably done the right thing in staying out. And just as we were talking there, I think we saw the number. Sure, it could have been the number. Apologies, I didn't actually catch the number of that truck, but I think it was Schultz who was heading down pit road. I think it was the number 32 who was heading down pit road. Kyle Stevens coming off pit road at the moment as well. So a few guys just taking the opportunity to get a bit of service. And once these guys at the front get the wave around, your leader will remain Jason Martin.
Yeah, definitely will. Reece Saunders, Dave Douglas now in third, and Carol Walden. I mean, these guys. I mean, Jason did run away a little bit there towards the end, but these guys are still in contention. It'll be interesting to see what happens on this restart. Still got a long way to go. Probably be a little bit cautious. There's probably still a few more cautions left in this one. Yeah,
it wasn't a flogging by any means. Not at all. The one thing that is kind of interesting is to see that Chris Purnell is now back in 18th position. I would have expected, he was sort of climbing his way up, and I would have expected him to be higher up at the moment, but Skurlock is up there flying the flag for Alliance. Focus on the front as they come around to the restart. We'd probably expect Jason to go quite early. He has gone quite early so far. Just watching him now, and he has gone quite early again. And that's going to give Dave Douglas the opportunity to get up the inside of Saunders. This is a move that no one's actually managed so far. And Dave doesn't look in a much better position to get that done than anybody else before him. So I should imagine that Saunders is going to keep there up top. And looks as though Carol Walden just getting along on the outside of Dave Douglas there as well. Be interested to see if he can get that move done. Certainly getting the momentum there, and he certainly does get that move done with a forceful move coming off of turn 4. And now they're running 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 behind them. And Dave Douglas actually losing place to Stockton as well.
Yeah, Stockton coming to the back of Dave there off turn 4, and Dave Douglas up into the wall, unfortunately. There's a bit of a stack up on the restart actually in the mid-pack, but you sort of expect that here. I think Purnell might have gotten back of Ben Douglas.
So difficult to know where to look at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye on Jake Maloney, who is just slotting in there behind James Robbie. He was just ahead of him, but it looks as though he's just kind of running up next to the wall. He hasn't really looked comfortable tonight, Maloney. I'm not sure if it's the fact that he's been buried amongst this frantic pack or whatever. He's just sort of struggling with the circuit, but he hasn't been as pacey as I would have expected him to be. But we'll see what the later in the race has got for him, because he tends to be one that definitely plays a long game, and would be expecting to see him make his way forward over time. But just sort of scrolling a little bit further forward, it looks as though everyone is fairly well in line. We've got Ben Doherty just sort of closing up. He's kind of in an RCD sandwich at the moment between Douglas and Jason Williams, who's having another good run tonight. But looking back up the front, it is, as it has been since the beginning, Jason Martin and Saunders coming under pressure from Josh Carroll Walden. And they're already coming up to lap Cheney and Schultz. So I think they've only been under green for a couple of laps. They're already catching these guys.
Yeah, I think Saunders has learnt now. He's using that Jason Martin line at the top. These guys have actually merged up to that top lane a lot quicker than they did last time. With Saunders doing that, he's able to stick with Jason Martin.
Yeah, he seems to have the pace, doesn't he? If he wants to run that line, Jason's going to have to... Oh, Jason had to well get off his line there. This has given Saunders a run. Jason had to back out of it to get around that lap piece of track of Cheney, and Saunders has on the low side for the first time tonight. And he pulls up in front of Jason Martin, and he's going to want to try and stay there. Jason sort of looking as though he wants to come back at him, but I think with with Schultz there, the lap truck of Schultz there on the inside, I don't think that Jason's going to want to push it too wide just yet. And Josh Carroll Walden sitting behind him in third place, just rubbing his hands together, hoping these two come together. And he's got an opportunity to take the lead of this race if that happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a good battle now coming off turn 4. I think Jason expected the lap car to go on the inside, and that's why he was so high, but he was very high. He was completely out of the groove near the wall. He's lost that position, but he's fighting for it now here on the outside.
Oh, and Carroll Walden's only just gotten around Schultz without making contact as well. So now he's got Stockton coming up behind him. But it appears as though the gap between Saunders and Martin, small as it is sort of stabilised. Martin's not sort of homing up onto the back of Saunders or anything like that. He doesn't look like he's, about to... He's in imminent danger of taking that lead away. But... just a little bit of a difference in line. You can see that Saunders is sort of dropping to that inside and coming back up, whereas Martin's trying to carry that momentum around the whole outside of the turn there. It could be a little bit about trying to keep the air flowing over that splitter as well and keep the downforce on the front of the. He just seems to be doing whatever Saunders isn't at this point in time. Just trying to keep his nose in that clean air, taking slightly different lines to Saunders through each turn.
Yeah, I can only see Saunders heating up that right front sort of through turns 1 and 2, but turn 3 and 4, as long as he stays up on the outside and the longer the laps wind down and the longer these guys run, Jason's not going to make that move on the inside, so just holds Jason Martin's line, which I think he might have learnt during that second run. He's doing the right things here.
He certainly is. You can't deny that. I mean, he's leading the race. Great opportunistic move to take the lead away. And is running there, as mentioned, now in the lead ahead of Jason. And as you mentioned, so long as he keeps running that line, I think it's going to be very difficult for Jason to do something about him until such time as perhaps some lap traffic intervenes or something like that. But as the top two sort of run together, take a bit of a scroll back through the field, Damon Stockton's made quite a lot of positions up. He's come up from 10th position on the grid to 4th. And just as they sort of cycle past that slower truck, number 32 of Schultz, Dave Douglas is still there as well. Skurlock's making his way forward, and just keeping an eye on your championship contenders. I guess the top two in the championship. Chris Purnell still sitting down there in 18th position. And just one quick note on Purnell, he actually had a lot of back issues after the race, the big long cup race with Dover 400 that we had on Saturday in the ANZCAR Cup. And he was really struggling with back issues to the point that he couldn't fulfill his normal job commentating on Performance E streaming for the ANZCARs last night. He's jumped back into the saddle tonight, but I imagine he's still in a fair amount of discomfort, which could explain the fact that he's running sort of lower than we expect to see him. And Matt Danson still sat there on pit road, so I can't imagine that we're going to see him gain any more points towards the championship, any more significant points for certainly for the race tonight.
Yeah, I can sort of vouch for that pain. That was 3 hours and 13 minutes, 38 seconds or something, that race on Saturday, and even my right leg in 3 spots was cramping. I had the exact same problem at Bristol in the 500 lap race, and I wrecked the car coming, had a second place wrapped up and wrecked it just because, my leg hurt so much that this time I just sort of really had to grit through it to get that win. But those long races are a killer.
Yeah, certainly was a killer. I can say from personal experience that I haven't been involved in that one as well, but quite fortunately I didn't suffer the same fate as some of my contemporaries. But looking back at the front now, we've got Reece Saunders still leading, Jason Martin. We did wonder how they were going to go through lap traffic, and they just caught past a bit of lap traffic, and it hasn't actually altered anything. We've got Josh Carroll-Walden now moving up on the back of Kyle Stevens. He's going to want to get that done ASAP, and he jinks out and gets that done straight away. And just looking behind Josh Carroll-Walden, we've got Stockton there, and Dave Douglas actually coming under a little bit of pressure from Skurlock, who's trying to make that low line work. It looks as though he is making that low line work actually. Just watching these guys as they come through 3 and 4, it looks as though Skurlock, if we think back, Skurlock did. Is Skurlock still on fresher tyres than everyone else? I don't think he is he? No, he's just run wide there, and Dave's got back underneath him.
Yeah, Dave's carrying a fair little bit amount of damage there, especially on the right front. These guys are about to go 4 wide through two.
Oh, it's just crazy, isn't it? Who'd want to get involved in that? And they actually all do a fantastic job. And Doherty's actually been the big bet pass, a lot of them. He's come through, and just as he's done that, he's run up to the outside wall. We've got a caution on track.
Just trying to scan to where that is. Oh, the 19 truck.
The 19 was involved in that, so that'd be Matt Hunter involved in that one. He was actually involved in the last caution as well when he tipped Stockton around. Can't quite actually see what's actually happened to Matt Hunter in that,
I've got it. Yeah, Jake Maloney's sort of gone up into the wall through turn. Hunter was up sort of behind him trying to slow down, and Chris Purnell got underneath both of them and unfortunately tagged the 19.
Okay, so that explains that one. It's Maloney, as we mentioned earlier on, not looking as comfortable as he has looked in previous races across ANZCAR, and everyone's sort of filtering in now, and I imagine that we'd probably see them all heading to the pits. We do see them heading to the pits. Saunders leading Martin. So the way they get into their pit box is going to be absolutely critical here. So we'll just keep an eye on our leaders. We'll keep an eye on the number 5 here. As he comes into his pit box, he hits his marks beautifully. Jason Martin hits his marks beautifully as well. But that being said, they're quite similar, and I can only imagine that Saunders is going to keep the lead if everything goes according to plan during his pit stop. And just watching as they drop him now, Saunders away in the 5, Martin coming after him, and it looks as though things will stay pretty much as they were.
So Jason Martin's stuck on pit road here. He's losing all his positions.
What's happened to Jason? He's just staying there on pit road. I don't understand what's taking place. Maybe he's got a penalty?
Yeah, I think this happened at Indy. I think that was a penalty.
I'm not sure what that penalty could have been for. Just having a look at his entry to pit lane, it didn't look to be a whole lot untoward about the way he came in. But he's lost a ton of positions there, as you mentioned, Dan. I didn't notice that at first. I was too busy watching the 5. But Jason's had a 36-second stop.
20-second penalty, possibly. I'm not sure what the penalty is, but 20 seconds. 20
seconds is a lot. Like, 20 seconds is a huge amount. He's dropped all the way back to 20th place. So he's... if we get a chance to chat to him after the race, I'll definitely be asking him about that, because you can only assume it was a penalty of some description, and you can only assume that it was for speeding on pit road or something like that, but he didn't seem to gain any time on Saunders, so I'm really a little bit mystified as to what actually has taken place.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a bummer. He's chatting on the radio now, but I sort of can't get there to see what happened. But yeah, Saunders and Martin were primed to set up for a great race here, but now we've got Callow. He wasn't too far behind either, so see what happens here. It's going to be good. I think Carroll's definitely going to go for it. He always does. Yeah,
so we've got Reece Saunders in the 5 there, keeping the lead, and good old JCW up behind him in second place. Ben does. He hasn't. He made a great run up through the field tonight. Qualified 8th, currently sitting in 3rd position. And Dave Douglas, he's started 4th, and while everything else has been going on around him, has remained in 4th. Stockton up there. Jason Williams is there in 7th position. Another solid run from him. Jaron McKenzie up from 27th to 8th. So he's had a really good run as well. And then we got Robbie and Curtis rounding out that top 10. And a quick shout out to Jason Bence as well. As we saw him for the first time in the series, I believe it was last week in the number 100 truck. And he's normally a V8 supercar racer. He's a road racer. He's quite prominent in those. He's very quick in those type of cars. And he's sitting up there just outside the top 10 at the moment in a NASCAR truck. So great run from him.
Yeah, it definitely is. I can confirm Jason Martin's penalty. I went back and scanned some driver radio, and too fast entering.
Too fast entering? He must have been... A 20-second penalty is a large penalty. So he must have actually gone in way too quick, or perhaps his stop was pretty ordinary anyway. But either way, whatever's happened, that's dropped him way down the field. And once again, we see Jason Martin being undone by pit stops. It's quite remarkable, the issues that he's had.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's going to be fun watching him come from the back. We are just over halfway now too, so he's not going to have much time to do this. He's definitely going to have to face some pretty aggressive strategy if he's going to get there. Probably, hope for a sort of a green flag run, then a caution, won't pit, get the position, and then maybe come in for tyres at the end when everyone else does too.
So we've actually got the amazing scenario at the moment. We've got Purnell, Callow and Marston buried way back in the pack, way out of position than what you would expect them to run. Ricky Cornwall's back with them as well, actually back there. You'd expect all those guys to come up, but looking back at the front here, Reece Saunders, field under his control now. How early is he going to go? Just looks to be holding it pretty steady at the moment. And okay, so Saunders has gone. He's gone quite late. He looks as though he's gone on the green. And that's given Josh Carroll-Walden the opportunity to hang there around the outside. But they're 3 wide in the pack behind him. That is absolutely crazy. Almost 4 wide further back with Curtis looking like he's getting involved with Robbie and McKenzie and his teammate actually Hunter. But I can't believe how adventurous these guys are being on the opening laps. And I think it shows a little bit about how hard it is to pass. They really have to be desperate and try and get these moves done in the opening laps.
Yeah, it's almost like if we almost got, I reckon, Sadler goes up towards the wall, he almost gets clipped. It's like halfway comes, they've been settled for half of it, now it's go time, you know. But I was surprised how Reece Saunders didn't get the launch that he needed to. That was one of the better restarts I've seen by Carol Wald, and he's still battling on the inside, but these guys are ferocious down the front.
Mackenzie in the wall, he's kept it going. He's up Wiley Curtis now. How is there not going to be another caution? You'd expect there to be a wreck any minute now. These guys are all over the place. I can't believe the racing that's going on further back in the pack. I don't even know where to look or how to describe it. We've got Robbie and Hunter and Mackenzie and Sadler and Curtis and Purnell and Maloney and Wilton and everybody in there together. And it's almost a matter of turn by turn who's going to come out in front of that lot. They look like they've almost sorted themselves out into some amount of sanity at the very least. After that's all shaken out, I think Spurlock's actually leading that pack with Doherty behind and Mackenzie making a really good charge through the field as well. So Jason Martin, just as I look back there, there's been contact. I'm not sure if that's caused anything. But I think there was contact between, I think it was Callow and one of the other drivers there. And Jason Martin's just going to be sitting there back there at the moment going, I do not want any of this. Everything was so nice and serene for me up front, and now I'm just back there in this chaos.
Yeah, same with Chris Purnell. This isn't what he wants to see.
Callow's around. Callow is around. Jackson Callow has gone around. Sorry to talk over the top of you there, Dan. Callow has gone around. It looks like he got together there with Benz. It's really hard to say whose fault it was there. They look as though they just kind of each had about 50-50 in it, but it hasn't brought the caution out as far as I can see. And Callow has resumed. So just sort of going back to that lot, it's still going crazy there in the middle. We've got Wilton on the outside of Jason Williams. We've got Purnell trying to make his way through. Remember, he's got a championship fight to think about. Sadler's in there as well, Sadler's just has had a rock better luck. He's always such a clean racer, but just seems to get hit by people just lately. And he's going to be happy to be. He's got to be biting his nails, absolutely, trying to keep things together there. But Purnell going down the inside of Gavin Sadler now. Looks as though Sadler will probably be able to hold on to that. Purnell's got Jason Williams to deal with there as well, and Jason Martin staying back behind this lot. He's already made up quite a few positions. He looks like he's going for another one on Jake Maloney at the moment. But I can't imagine there's not going to be another caution here very shortly, because these guys are just going at it absolutely hammering tongs.
Yeah, they certainly are. Purnell's been trying to get past Gavin Sadler for 10th for 5 laps now, but everybody in the top 5 in championship points has either been wrecked or they're 10th on back. Purnell finally gets that move done. They're still 3 wide.
3 wide on the back straight. Williams, Wilson,
well, here it is.
Sadler. Oh. No. How close was that? Wilton just getting out of it and just managing to catch it. That's another position for Jason Martin. Just calmly takes advantage of that. But another almost wreck as Martin sticks his nose down the inside of it. Jason Williams doesn't quite get that done either. But not even really looking at the front of the field. It's just too much fun back here. And I'll tell you, where else do you get racing anything like this? Is absolutely fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's been a great night. They've totally outperformed what I thought would happen. This has been fantastic.
And just having a look, Mackenzie down the inside of Curtis. Curtis getting a little bit loose there in the number 93. Looks as though Purnell's going to pick up that position while those two got together. And he's got actually quite a good amount of momentum there on Mackenzie as well. But Mackenzie shuts the door on Purnell, as you'd expect he would. And as we mentioned, Jason Martin just sitting on the back of his pack as well, trying to work his way through. Mackenzie making a pretty good fist of it tonight, pulling his way up. And just sort of looking just back up towards the front of the field for anyone who is interested in who's actually winning this race. We've got Reece Saunders half a second ahead of Josh Carroll Walden, who is a further 1.5 seconds ahead of Damien Stockton. And it's all fairly serene up the front. Yeah,
that was about a second gap 2 laps ago. So Carroll Walden definitely on the charge here. He's running that slightly higher line through 1 and 2. I'm not sure if he's saving, he's getting more tyre life by doing that, but he's definitely run down Reece Saunders.
All right, so looking back in the pack again, where it's all happening at the moment, we've got Purnell right on the back of Mackenzie, and we've also got Curtis running around the outside of his new recruit, Jason Williams there. Looks as though they're going to go 3 wide. Jason Williams is going to try and take a look at Purnell. I don't think Purnell saw Jason Williams there. I do not think he saw him. I don't think he had any idea he was there. Now he gets in the back of Mackenzie as well, and Curtis into Mackenzie and they're all funneling through. Is there going to be a caution or not? It doesn't look like there is. It looks like they've got away with it. They were full wide there down the back straight, but just having a look there, Purnell definitely got into Jason Williams, and I just don't think Purnell saw him. He's just sort of jigged out of the draft, and just as he rubs up against the wall himself now, I just don't think Purnell saw Jason Williams there, and that unfortunately sent Jason Williams all the way back to last truck on the lead lap, carrying a fair bit of damage as well. That's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, we're trying to have to catch a replay during the next caution, lap 78, but I managed to catch the scanner during all that, and Purnell wasn't happy with Darren McKenzie. Said told him to hold his line, so I think he might have gotten stuck behind Darren McKenzie and just sort of, I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, we were almost kind of so distracted by what had just happened with Jason Williams and whether he was going to save it or not, that we've only just kind of come back to Purnell at the time that he's been getting into the back of McKenzie, but I didn't see the lead up to that. I really didn't see if that was possibly Purnell sending a message, or whether McKenzie's turned down or whether Purnell's come up. I really didn't get a chance to see it, so I can't make too much of a judgment on that. But that, at the very least, seems to serve the function of actually getting these guys away from each other, and possibly getting them sort of to the stage where they're going to have a bit of space on each other. They're going to be able to run a little bit cleaner.
They've got just over 40 laps to go. Meanwhile, up front, the race up front is getting a little bit tighter, because now Carol Walton's only 0.3 seconds off the pace, so he's definitely catching. He's taking the inside line through 3 and 4, so I hope he doesn't burn up his tyres too quickly by doing this, but he's definitely catching.
And just, I can tell you that just having reviewed the incident with Purnell, it looks as though that McKenzie did sort of take a high line dropping low, but it doesn't look as though that really affected anything too much. Jake Maloney, just as I say that, getting very, very loose on the inside of Purnell and just managed to catch it. But it looks as though Purnell just straight got in the back of it. So I'm not sure too much can be argued either way there.
Yeah, a lot happens in that. That was a pretty tight pack. It was bound to happen. But yeah, still didn't bring out a caution.
Still didn't bring out the caution, which has allowed this battle at the front to really close up. And I think everyone would say that Josh Carroll-Walden has got better tyre life than Saunders at this stage, because he's really closed that gap down, as you did mention, Daniel. So just come to the inside of Kyle Stevens there. He's staying nice and high, keeping out the way of the leaders. But it looks as though JCW has now got as close as he possibly can to Saunders, but it's almost difficult to see where he's going to be able to make that move. It's almost as if it's going to come down to a battle of tyre life, and if Saunders wears off his tyres too much, then that differentiator in pace is going to be enough to allow Carol Walden to make the move.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Saunders realised, from having Jason Martin behind him, and he managed to actually get away from Jason Martin before that last caution flag where Jason lost all his distance in pit road. So, yeah, I think Reece knows as long as he takes that line, or the high line, the preferred line, it's pretty much got him covered.
He's going to be very, very difficult to pass, isn't he? He just runs that perfect line that he needs to run, and it's going to be hard for Carol Walden to get that job done, but I certainly wouldn't put it past him. Fair amount of chatter going on a bit further in the pack at the moment. Brett Wheeler, unfortunately, he's moving that truck down to pit lane, and a potential retirement here. Pitting under green, obviously not what you want, and there's quite a lot of damage on that number 56. So be interested to see if he actually gets repairs. It looks like he has taken that truck behind the wall and will play no further part tonight. Big shame for him. Sort of taking a bit of a look back through the pack at the moment. See Cornwall's just tried to make a move on McKenzie. Big slide job, almost sprint car style, sliding up in front of McKenzie. McKenzie just calmly, just waiting for him to slide up in front and just ducking his nose back underneath and retaking that position. So using all his experience to show the new boy a bit of a lesson there.
It's still battles everywhere. Gavin Sadler goes under Kosh. I think he's damaged. Another good battle was up there between fifth place. You got Jason Martin, Skurlock, 41 of James Robbie, and Ben Doherty in the 313.
Well, let's just make a note of this for a moment, because Jason Martin has worked his way back to 5th position in all of that. In all that chaos, in all that carnage, he's moved his way back up from, I think he was down in 21st position. And it's only really been a handful of laps. He's back up there in 5th, which shows that he's got a bit of racecraft, as well as just being very, very fast over a single lap, and good on his tyres. He's got that done. But I'm just sort of watching James Robbie, who's battling just behind Jason, actually, with Ben Doherty, and he got really loose there just a second ago. So I think these tyres, I'm just watching a few of these trucks, and they're really starting to move around, especially on the mid corner, and especially when you've got a guy trying to run a slightly lower line than perhaps somebody else. So it's a combination of the aero, or what I mentioned earlier on before with Dave Douglas letting us know that the trucks were getting quite loose on the long run, and I think we're actually seeing that right now. And one thing that about how quickly Jason Martin's moved up the field. I know that Jason is very good in lower grip conditions. He's got a great feel for grip and a great feel for the truck. So I'm not really that surprised, as impressive as it's been. I'm not that surprised to see him making such a big benefit on these
yellow.
this. But we do have a yellow out there as well now.
He's the 29 truck of Jake Maloney. He seems to get loose coming off turn 2, and yeah, he pretty much spins that down by himself into the inside wall, but he pulls it up just before he hits it, actually.
So we have sort of commented tonight on how uncomfortable Jake has looked, and I guess that's just a little bit of evidence of that. Just seems to be maybe wearing off those tyres a little bit more than most, as he gets it a bit sideways as well through 1 and 2. And I should imagine that he's going to be coming down the pit lane this time with the rest of them. And like I say, I should think that everyone's going to take the pit road this time. And indeed they do.
Yeah, and I think that all through all that and what could have happened in front of Jason Martin getting caught in all those wrecks, he's actually done really well to come out fourth here. He's still got 30-odd laps to go, 35 laps to go. He could get this done still.
Yeah, he's done a good job here. Just as these pit stops shake out, once we get to the end of this, I might just grab Dave Douglas in for a quick chat. He did put his hand up earlier on to say that he was willing to come up and have a bit of a chat to us during caution period. So we might just see how these pit stops go. Let him focus on that for a moment, and then we'll bring him up and have a bit of a chat to him and see how the race is actually looking from his view. But just watching these pit stops as they happen, Reece Saunders sitting there at the end of that pit lane, and it looks as though he's shot out quite well. Carol Walden's come out, will regain that second place. It looks as though Jason Martin there may have got up to third ahead of Damon Stockton. They're just sort of resolving that at the moment, and he has done. So a good pit stop for a change for Jason Martin. But as mentioned, just while they sort themselves out, we might grab Dave Douglas up here for a little bit of a chat. Dave Douglas, Edward Foster from the Performance E-Streaming commentary box. Can you hear us?
Yeah, matter.
All right, so just been having a little bit of a look at the way the race has gone so far. There's been some crazy racing up and down the field. How's it sorted out from your point of view?
Yeah, apart from the bit of hectic restarts, basically once we get in the groove, it's been pretty good for myself. But yeah, I've been caught up a couple of times on the high line on the restarts. I've cleaned the wall up. And that last one actually did a bit of damage, so it's not that good, but we'll see how it goes.
So how's the high line performing? It seems to be a bit of a mixed bag of people using different lines and so on. Some people seem to be able to make moves on the bottom, some people don't. What are you finding?
Yeah, for me it's the high line that works best for me, but I was a bit disappointed at how quick and fast Jason Martin just passed me on the low line there. I was just saying to the boys, I don't know how he keeps that speed. He's got to be doing something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, he does thrive in these sort of low grip. Once the tyres start to go off, he does sort of thrive in those lower grip environments. If you'd got a chance to have a look back and see some of the stuff that he fought through to get up to there, you'd be even more impressed. Trust me, it was quite something. But in terms of yourself, how are you finding the truck behaving? We've had a couple of long runs tonight.
Yeah, I'm probably top 5 pace. That's probably about it. That's all I've got. With the front right quarter damage, I'm not sure how it's helping with the steering, but it's definitely affecting the speed. I can feel it just a little bit, but I mean, short track, but I can still feel it. So top 5 is probably all I've got here at the moment.
All right, so you've got Stockton in front, Skurlock behind. What do you fancy your chances against those two?
I've been pretty good on the restarts lately, so I'll try and get a good jump again and see what we can do. I'm not sure if Stockton made contact with me earlier. It put me in the fence, or whether I just ran into the fence, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, possibly a forewarning of things to come. But thanks very much for joining us, Dave, and we'll leave you to the restart.
No worries, thanks guys.
Okay, so that was Dave Douglas there in the number 10, running there in 5th position for this restart. What'd you make of that, Daniel?
Yeah, he seems a little bit concerned about that. I mean, he's obviously said he could feel it. So, Let's have to see how he goes. 4 fresh tyres, 30 laps to go. I think he'll give it a good crack. But yeah, this has actually worked out really good. I didn't think we'd see Jason Martin back up here, but he's going to give this a huge run, and I think we're going to see a great race between these top 3 here. And Stockton with his clean truck in 5th.
Yeah, certainly hope we are. So you can see them now running 2 by 2, fanning out the international symbol for "We are about to go racing." Sitting there, gridding up as they do when they're about to have a restart. So we've got Reece Saunders still leading Josh Carroll-Walden. What's he going to be able to do? He's been so impressive tonight. And Jason Martin there, irrepressible Jason Martin, got his way all the way back up to 3rd position. What a fight back from him. So as they come to the green, we're going to see the pace car duck in. We're going to see when Saunders decides to go. He's been going quite late. He goes quite early this time. And we're going to watch Jason Martin there. I think he's got a pretty good run on Carroll-Walden, but I can guarantee you Carroll-Walden is not going to want to give up that 2nd place. He may have no choice, but he's really running hard there around the outside, and he may actually get the opportunity to keep it.
Yeah, I think he will. I think Saunders did a great job there. He went early. I mean, the turn 1 comes pretty quick on this short track. If you can get the 2nd and 3rd place, they're just having a good battle coming off turn 4. If you can get them 2 stuck, side by side, you're just going to drive away like he has.
Yeah, so Jason's actually got that move done. It looks as though Stockton's trying to get that move done as well. Skurlock's made a move on Dave Douglas, who we were just speaking to. And just a quick shout out just behind Dave Douglas, actually. We've got Lewis Hewitt, who's, as we mentioned earlier on, newcomer to ANZCAR, and he's running up there quite well. He's got Ben Doherty, last season's runner-up, just running around the outside of him, but he's doing a great job up there in what's just become 7th place. And they seem like they're being a little bit more sensible this time. But having said that, we've got Carroll-Walden just losing a spot on the outside there to Stockton. But he's going to stick his nose back down the inside, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do too much. And it hasn't been a good couple of laps for Carroll-Walden, that's for sure.
No, he gets very close to Stockton there. He drops back to 4th. He's going to be disappointed with this. He's got Skurlock running up right behind him.
Yeah, he's got Skurlock there right behind him, who, yeah, as you mentioned, he's got to be careful. Dave Douglas just watching him back there. It looks like he may have just got a very slight piece of the wall. If he didn't, he got very, very close. But he's got Doherty sitting up there behind him at the moment. But just taking a look there at this battle between 3rd and 4th, and it looks as though Stockton has actually settled that in his favour for the time being.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look back at championship leader Chris Purnell, and he's got quite a lot of damage down to the front of that truck. He's running in 15th place, and not a good night for him at all.
Yeah, he's struggling, isn't he? I wonder how much that back issue is playing havoc with him tonight, because this is probably, I'm not sure if it's the fact that he's been stuck in the pack the whole time, but this is probably his least impressive showing of the season so far. So I wonder how actually sort of plaguing him at the moment, how much discomfort he's actually in.
Yeah, I know he's opted for virtual reality lately, and I think he's done a good job not going with the full motion. I think it's quite hectic on your back.
Yeah, I can't imagine that'd be good at all. But Hunter, just there on the outside of Purnell, nearly getting into the back of Wilton. They're going 3 wide there. Stockton's in there, Robbie's in there as well. Yeah, a crazy battle like we just saw. In fact, Stockton's just running there. Not Stockton, sorry. Cornwall is running there way too deep, and it's actually wound up turning Hunter around.
Oof, on a 16. Todd Maxfield had nowhere to go, straight into the 19.
And it's really hard because I'm actually just going back. It looks as though Cornwall has just launched in he's braked too late, and he's had to jam the picks on to try and avoid getting in the back of Purnell, kicked it sideways, and Hunter just seemed to be an innocent bystander in that, to be perfectly honest, but he's taken his teammate. It looks as though Roddy Curtis has just been tagged and he's gone into the outside wall. And then, as you mentioned, Maxfield has just gone head on into him. You say he had nowhere to go. I think he could have gone just about anywhere else than that, but has gone straight into the front of him. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, in the 19. He just did that, and that, I think we were talking about it earlier. He overcorrected and the car actually caught grip and straight right up into the track in front of everybody else, unfortunately.
All right, so we've got a split in strategies here. Saunders has gone to the lane. Martin has stayed out. Stockton has gone to the lane as well. Most of the other guys look as though they've actually stayed out. So that'll actually give Jason Martin the lead back, as he had moved up into 2nd place. Saunders deciding he wants fresh tyres. He did, and it's hard when you're in the lead. It's difficult when you're in the lead because everybody behind you can look at what you do and base their behaviour off of you. Whereas you can make a call and you can be the only one. I think that Saunders is going to be kicking himself at the moment because so many guys have elected to stay out. And I actually just caught the back end of Matt Danson there, who's actually got back on track as well. So Saunders, I think, unfortunately, because no one else really came with him. A couple of guys came with him, but no one else really came with him. I think that Saunders, unfortunately, has just lost this race.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so too. I mean, these guys only had done 7 laps on their tyres, and they did that early in the race too, so they know what they've got after this. And yeah, I think that was a big mistake. But like you say, everyone behind, pretty much, when you're in the lead, whatever you do, everybody behind you does the opposite.
And that's unfortunate. If everyone else had come down the pit lane with him, he'd still be in the lead. But a lot of guys elected to stay out, and that has really, really buried him in that pack, and that's unfortunate. I'm just watching how far down he actually falls now. The timing will, of course, reset as they come across the line, and Reece Saunders is now sitting in 11th position. So we've seen how hard it is to overtake, and if you think back to the way he's had quite a serene run out the front, everything's been quite gentle comparatively for him. Now he's kind of back there in amongst that pack, and you know, Sadler's there, and Maloney's there, and Purnell's there, and Mackenzie's there, and all these guys have been absolutely going to war all night, and now he's slap bang in the middle of it. And I hope he doesn't. I hope he manages to fight his way through and get back in the position that he deserves, but I can't help but thinking he is going to get a severe eye-opening when we go. These guys have been running back in the pack.
Yeah, I've got a feeling we're probably going to have about 18 laps to go. He's definitely got a top 5 car, or top 5 truck to get up there. But, you know, Josh Carroll, no damage on his car, no damage on Skurlock either.
Yeah, so those guys have made a good fist of it. Those guys have made a really good fist of it. And speaking of up the front, we've got Jason Martin there. How many times have we said this now? Jason Martin leading. Wonder if this is going to be the night. Is this going to be the race where he finally breaks his duck in this series? Amazing to be saying for a guy like Jason Martin, but he hasn't won a race yet, and he's had some absolute shocking results by his high standards so far. Is this going to be the race where he gets it done?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen him win too many races lately in ANZCAR, but he's definitely going to be going for this one tonight. He'll be wrapped if he gets this.
Yeah, he will be absolutely happy with it, with very good reason. Josh Carroll-Walden there as well. I think if he manages to finish top 2, he's going to be happy with his night's effort. He's certainly got the speed to finish there, and looking at in the way that his contenders have sort of dropped away, Saunders case in point, he's going to really think that he can hold on to that position, although once again he's going to be starting in the hardest possible place, which is outside row 1. And then Skurlock, he's been sort of quietly going about his business despite being involved in some fairly hectic battles. And if you look at Skurlock's truck, there is not a mark on it, not a mark on it at all. So that should suggest that he's going to have good pace once we go green again. And Dave Douglas, he's back up there in 4th position after having not quite such a good restart last time. He's up there in 4th again. So restarting on the outside, which he said he wasn't that fond of last time, but we'll see what he's able to do with it this time.
Yeah, it's just he gets sort of a bit strung out there when the leader goes early. I think you got to. I think Jason Martin will go early. He's been doing it pretty much all race. I think he knows that it's so short to turn 1, like I said before. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Skurlock here. Like you say, not a mark on his truck. He's been in the thick of things, so he knows how to race people. I'm interested to see if he's got anything. Well, if he get past Walden, he might be able to get to the back of 21.
Gonna be hectic, isn't it? We've only got a handful of laps to go. I think we've seen the last pit stops, that's for sure. The field is now under control of Jason Martin, and Jason Martin goes. Carroll-Walden gets away quite well, actually, considering where he had to start, and gets his tailgate right where it needs to be, right there in front of Skurlock, who sweeps to the outside and tries to take that outside line, giving Dave Douglas his preferred on the first lap at least lower line. And we've got
22 sideways in turn 2. They're still reckon going into turn 3. Jason Williams involved, 5 of Saunders involved.
That's a shame. That's a big shame for those guys, because those guys are running quite high up the pack, and it looks as though that Saunders has actually got into the back of the 22, and obviously his impatience to get back to the front, the speed that he was carrying, has got him into the back of the 22. I think the 22 fairly blameless there, and guys have actually done really well to sort of split around him, but obviously a few other guys getting together there as well, which is a big shame for him and a big shame for the 75 and a few of the other guys that are involved.
Yeah, so after he got into the back of the 22, he was just trying to keep his position on the inside, 3 wide down the back stretch, and he sort of came in contact with the left-hand side of of Williams, and that ended badly for both of them. I can imagine Williams will be pretty upset with that, especially considering he's third in championship points.
Yeah, he's up there in points, isn't he? And we always comment on how much of a great job he's done for a rookie, but he's kind of run into a bit of trouble in this race, which hasn't really been of his own making. And he kind of dodged that incident. And yeah, I mean, I don't like to really put the blame at anyone's feet, but I have to say that in both of those incidents, I really see that Saunders was at fault, probably with I guess a view to trying to frantically make back the positions that he's lost in that pit stop. But he's got into the back of Walsh there, and then as they've all sorted themselves out, he's got into the back of Hunter as well. He's hit him not once but twice, and had a chance to back out of it and didn't take it. So yeah, I don't like pinning blame on people, but I can't help but say that from my point of view, Saunders was at fault in both of those incidents there. Unfortunate, because he's had such a great run.
Yeah, and I did manage to catch some radio chatter, and he has apologised for that. He did admit that it was totally his fault. The pack was just moving a lot slower than he thought it would be.
Yeah, so we've got Saunders now dropping down 2 laps as he's taken a pit road to get repairs. Jason Williams, where's he? He's just coming onto or off of pit road, which just looks as though he may be, yes, he is actually heading into the pits, and will take up his position there to try and get some repairs and get back out there. But he's sitting in a rather lowly 19th place at the moment.
Yeah, so what Reece Saunders needed was that caution flag, but he didn't need the caution flag, and that's what killed him tonight. It's going to be interesting. These guys are still all on some worn tyres, but there's no real sort of trucks that are in any immediate threat to the top 5 or 6. So yeah, see what happens.
Yeah, like I say, I think as far as these guys who are having a clean race up the front, I think that the last pit stops are over. I don't think you're going to see anybody who's not forced to by accident damage dive to the pits, unless there's somebody right up the back who thinks they might like to take some fresh tyres for no penalty because they're at the back anyway, and see what they're able to gain. These guys are all going to be aware how hard it is to pass. They're all going to be aware how little time there is to go. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see another caution before this one's over. I think it's all getting a bit frantic now. We're coming down to the wire.
Yeah, it's definitely how they're driving. If a caution comes out early, we've probably got enough for one more restart, but I imagine could even possibly see a caution on that one too. But yeah, time is running out, and Walden knows it, so does Skurlock.
Yeah, and Walden made such a good restart last time. He made a really, really awesome restart from where he was, such a difficult place, and he managed to get his tailgate right down in front of Skurlock and actually first forced Skurlock to carry his momentum up to the outside. And get that done, and as you can see, Carol Walden's actually retained that second place, and I think he's earned it. I really think he's earned it. He made a fantastic restart. It's almost a shame for him that he's not able to reap the benefits from that any longer, because he really deserved it. But let's see now, as they fan out too wide again, whether he can do a similar thing this time around.
Yeah, as we're about to go green, they're just heading off turn 2. Yeah, it's going to be a close one. Dave Douglas still up there in 4th. He's done pretty well. Mackenzie, he's sitting up there in 5th, 6th position.
Yeah, and he can be dangerous. I think he's in 7th actually, but he can definitely be very aggressive. A quick shout out Lewis Hewitt as well in the 666. Started 14th, running in 5th at the moment. First time I've seen him out in an ANZCAR race. Doing well.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at his truck. It looks pretty clean. It is a clean truck. Got touch damage on the right-hand side. We're about to go green.
About to go green, so the field will come under the control of Jason Martin. Expect to see him go. He does go. Carol Walden's got away pretty well. He's just going to, as he did before, sweep across in front of Skurlock. Is Skurlock going to try and pin it down the inside? He is. He's not going the outside routes he did last time. And you're going to see Carol Walden try and pin him to the inside. He does that. They're going to be side by side, but momentum with Carol Walden out to the back straight. Is he going to be out? Yes, he secures that position as he drops down in front. So another great restart from him. Jason Martin doing what he does best, gapping out in front of the field, looking back a little bit further. There's a few walking wounded back there, but it's as frantic as it ever was back there. We've got a few of the Alliance guys in there. We've got Stockton in there next to Doherty, and I'm sure that these top 5 who've managed to spread out single file are going to be grateful of that fact, because it's all still going on behind them.
Oh, they're
And
wrecking.
Mackenzie into Maloney. Maloney's managed to catch it and spin down, and he's caught Purnell. Purnell's got around. Callow's involved as well, and our prediction very, very sadly came true. And I believe that was kicking that off. That was actually Mackenzie into the back of Maloney. Not really sure who was to blame on that one.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at it now. Mackenzie was very close to him entering turn 3.
I think Maloney's come down on him, to be fair. I honestly think that Maloney has just taken a little bit more road than he had. He's come down on, and that's super unlucky because you can see Maloney actually tried to hold it up against the wall. He hasn't been able to. He's bounced off the wall and he's bounced right down to the unfortunate Purnell and the perennially unfortunate Jackson Callow. And that's unlucky for the pair of it. They've got championship implications tonight.
Yeah, they do. And Purnell's engine's gone, so he's done for the night. That's disappointing for him. He's going to wind back there in, possibly all the way down in 22nd position.
Yeah, that's a real shame for him. They're all coming to the lane now, or are they? It looks as though Jason Martin's just dummied. I can't imagine. I don't know why I fell for his trick. I fall for his tricks way too often. I fell for it again. But as we mentioned before, I'd be very surprised if anyone comes to the lane now with only 6 laps left in this one. Yeah, they're just very unfortunate for those guys caught up in that. And we're just going to have this run here to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody took pit lane there except maybe Purnell, who's pretty much done for the night. Callow was involved in that. He's got heavy damage, but he's stay out on track. I'm pretty sure he's still on the lead lap, which he is, 17th position. But that's a big load of points lost for him tonight. He was sitting in 4th in the standings, only 16 off the pace from Purnell, but he's also been in a wreck. Matt Danton's been in a wreck. Jason Williams has been in a wreck. 5th place, Will Barrington, isn't showing tonight, so he could have picked up a heck load of points, and the one that's going to gain the most is Nick Walsh, but he's high back there in 20th.
And I mean, let's have a look at the guys who are actually sort of there in the championship
Gerlach
fight at the moment. Skurlock is going to be the big jumper out of this. He's sitting up there in 3rd, and everyone ahead of him has had a rotten night. Everyone ahead of him's had a shocker, and for that matter, everyone behind him's had a shocker too. So I think that we're going to see Skurlock leap a ton of positions. He may even get right up in amongst the top 3 as a result of this.
Yeah, if Jason Martin wins, he might jump a couple of positions back inside the top 10. He's missed a race. He missed last week. He did miss last week.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yes, he'll be a bit of a gainer, but he was still stuck there in sort of the back end of the top 10. But yeah, Michael Skurlock. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I think he'll be. If he's smart, Skurlock, he's not going to want to risk too much to take second or get involved in too much of a fight with Dave to defend 4th, to be honest. I think anywhere in the top 5 for him is going to be a great result tonight in terms of the championship, and I hope he's thinking that way. I really do hope for his own good that that's the way he's thinking, and he's not going to allow himself to be caught up in any silliness, because wherever looking at the positions he's likely to finish, which you would say is inside the top 5, I hope that's the way he's thinking, that the top 5 is his priority, because if he manages it, it's going to be a shed load of points for him. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got to know that some of his, especially Purnell, their teammates, so he knows that he's been involved in an accident, and probably knows Anson's pretty much off the pace, and Jason Williams too. So, yeah, let's just see what happens here. I mean, Carroll didn't get the greatest restart last time. He's actually very conservative. He let Skurlock get underneath him. He didn't make that rash move to the left. I think he was afraid that he was going to get turned. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting restart. It's pretty much the last restart of the race. So, yeah, these guys are going to be at it.
And I'm almost expecting to see, I mean, we've got the number 22 in there looking as though he's in 3rd place at the moment. He's going to have to drop to the back, which he is doing right now. So he's going to have to drop to the back of the field, being not on the lead lap, which is quite handy from the perspective of the actual race itself, because it clears the lap traffic out the way of the leaders. So they're all going to be nicely in there together. And once again, we're going to see poor old JCW have to start from the outside of row 1. And is he going to be able to slot down in front of Skurlock like he has done the last 2 times? He's made great restarts the last 2 times. Dave Douglas is there on the outside of row 2. I think with that damage, he probably knows that he hasn't got much for the top 3. I'm sure he'll try. I don't think he's going to have too much for the top 3. He's going to be more about defence for those 2 guys behind him. And Lewis Hewitt still sitting there in 5th position. Very impressive. Ben Doherty up there as well. Gav Sadler, he's had a couple of hits, but nice to see him up there. Getting a nice solid run in there tonight in 8th position. He might even be able to move forward a little way from here. But he has got Stockton, Cornwall and Mackenzie all right in there behind him, who are 3 of the most aggressive guys you'd ever want to come up against on track. I'm really hoping that Gavin can bring it home in a nice position for him as well.
I'm just looking at Walden. He's got one chance here to basically guess when Martin presses the gas, and he's got on it pretty well.
And he hasn't.
Well, sort of. I think he might get jumped down into 2nd. At least he's pulled that lane off.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to stick there in front of Skurlock, won't he? So it looks as though they're running sort of 1, 2, 3. Dave Douglas trying to hold on around the outside there and try and hold Hewitt and Doherty back behind him. He looks kind of solid for 4th at the moment, but there's not going to be too long left in this one. Oh, perilously close to the back end of Double D there in 4th position before Hewitt backs off and decides to stay away from that. Sadler coming down on the inside of Stockton. I'm not sure if you're doing that at the stage of the race, the way those guys have been lately. But Martin's still there out in front, and I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him. In fact, I'm not going to do it.
The 666 is about to go around, and he's gone around in turn 4.
He is going to go around. He is going to go around, and that's hugely unfortunate for him.
Green flag.
Hugely unfortunate for him, but it stayed green, and that's horrible for the 666. But we'll keep our eyes back at the front. Looks as though 666 got loose all on his own. Bit of aero loose there, unfortunately for him. But Jason Martin still out there on the track, coming around there, only a whisker ahead of Josh Carroll-Walden actually, but he will take the victory right there. Only a not too far ahead of Josh Carroll-Walden at all. Fantastic run for him. Skurlock hangs on for 3rd. And I believe Dave Douglas hangs on to 4th. So good result from him.
Yeah, definitely. One of that top 5. He knew he had a damaged truck and could he tipped himself for a top 5, so he's going to be wrapped in that 4th place finish, I feel.
All right, so we haven't seen too much of Jason Martin in the interviews so far in this season. I hope he jumps up here tonight because I'd like to have a bit of a chat with him. He finally breaks that duck. Jason Martin is back in the winner's circle and back on. And that's got to be ominous for everyone else, because we know how dangerously dominant this guy can be. But a few good finishes, a few good stories in there, and a few absolute horror shows as well. Speaking particularly of the few guys that are up there in the championship, Purnell, Callow, even Jason Williams had a shocker tonight as well. He's been so consistent. Lewis Hewitt losing it right there at the end. In fact, we might just go back and have a very quick look at that, or just myself at the very least, have a quick look at what happened to Hewitt, because he really was in a fairly good position, and it looks as though he was underneath Doherty. There was no contact there as far as I can tell. He looks as though he just got loose sort of on his own, maybe a bit of aero loose in there. And unfortunately, that's put an end to him. And that's a real shame. And he's collected Mackenzie, and he's collected, I believe it was Will. And unfortunate for him because he was right up there.
Yeah, and I'm just about to do the points now. How it happens, but I think Skurlock's going to get it. Pleasantly surprised here if he comes in for an interview at what his stand exactly will be.
All right, so we have had Jason Martin pop into the green room, so we might grab him up for a bit of a chat, just celebrate his first win of this truck series, and just while you do the points there, Daniel, I might have a bit of a chat to him. Jason Martin, Edward Foster here in the Performance E streaming commentary box, and finally, you're back in victory lane again. How's it feel? Can't actually hear Jason there, so I'm not sure that he's actually reading us at the moment. So I might move on to someone else. I might try and grab him back in a little moment. Are you there, Jason?
Yeah, mate. Had to reset the buttons.
Oh, right. Okay, no problems at all. So we got Jason Martin here, your race winner tonight. Welcome to the commentary box, and welcome back to Victory Lane. It's been a while for you, mate. How does it feel?
Yeah, great to be back, mate. Been a while.
Certainly has been a while. We were commenting earlier on about how remarkable it was that you hadn't actually notched a win in this series as yet. But it seemed to be one of those where you came up against your troubles. It looks as though you had a bit of an issue in pit lane again, which has been something that's been, I guess, troubling you for a little while. But you managed to fight your way back so quick. And I think that's what surprised everyone, was just how quickly you were able to fight your way back through the field.
Yeah, I had my usual mid-race stuff up in the pits, and then I had to work my way through, and that was real good fun.
Yeah, certainly looked like it, and not so much obviously the way in which you're able to pick off the guys further down in the pack, but just the insanity level of of some of the fighting that was going on back there. I did wonder as if something was going to happen in front of you and you might end up with nowhere to go or something like that. But in the end, it all sort of worked out. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy at times, so I was just picking my moments and trying to be as patient as possible. Then when I saw the gaps, I'd go for it.
Yeah, and one of those things that looked like as well, there weren't too many guys who were able to really make the low line stick tonight, but you seemed to get a few good moves done on the low side. What was your impressions of how that low line was working? What were you doing to make it work for you?
Yeah, the low line's pretty good for about 5 laps on fresh tyres. Then after that, it's not really that good, but if you can get it right, you can make a few passes and get the inside for turn 1.
Yeah, it wasn't something that many people managed to pull off tonight, but certainly you did your fair share of it. So congratulations. Great to see you back in the winner's circle. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to while you're here?
Just got to thank ANZCAR for the league and you guys for broadcasting it.
Well, fantastic. Always great to be able to broadcast and commentate on a race that frantic and that entertaining. So thanks very much for playing your part in it. Congratulations on the win. And we'll hopefully see you again in a few days for the Thunder.
Cheers, mate. Hopefully I can have some good luck in that one as well.
Absolutely. So your winner, everyone there, Jason Martin, back to the winner's circle. Now we might actually just bring up our second place, Joshua Carroll-Walden. Great run that he had tonight. And Danny, did you want to have a chat to Joshua?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Second place finish tonight.
Yeah, good. Danny, yeah. Wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
No, you seem to do pretty good. Those last few restarts, you sort of managed to get a half-decent jump at least to get that inside line. It looked like you missed it on the second last restart, but you got the high side through turn 3. But you're up there, top 3 all night. So, it was a very good job.
Yeah, it was. And, I felt as the race was going on, I was getting more pace. I was getting more comfortable with the way Iowa, how to race around Iowa. And, I was pretty impressed with how I was doing on those longer stints. Like I think it might have been a bit closer if we didn't have that last caution.
Yeah, what did you think of Reese coming down pit road? No one took the bait, but he went down on his own and it ended up costing him in the end. He ended up in a pretty big accident.
Yeah. Like I was sort of thinking before that just as that caution came out, do I pit? Do I not? In the end, I decided not to, and if Jason had followed Reese in, I probably would have stayed out. So yeah, I thought it was bold of him, but yeah, I personally would have stayed out, and yeah, I did.
Yeah, well done on second tonight, mate. That was your first race of the year, I think. Top 5, second place, can't complain.
Yeah. First time I've actually been available to do one of these, and get P2 first time out. So yeah, I'm really happy with myself.
Awesome, man. It was good to see you out there tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out to before I let you go?
Just thanks to Performance Stream for the broadcast, and you admins up at ANZCAR for organising a fantastic series.
Awesome, man. Well, it was good to watch it tonight. It was a great broadcast, an excellent race, actually. I don't know if you get to catch the broadcast a bit later on, but there was a hectic battles going on behind you. It was pretty intense.
Yeah. Like I'll catch the broadcast later to just find out what shenanigans was going on behind me. But yeah, up at the front, very enjoyable race.
Cool, man. Well, have a good night. We'll catch you next time.
All right, so that was your second place getter, Josh Carroll Walden. Understandably, very happy with his result tonight. And just as our third and final interview, I can't see Michael Skurlock around, unfortunately, to have a bit of a chat to him because he will undoubtedly take a big leap forward in the point score as a result of the result tonight. But I might actually grab in Riley Curtis. We don't get too much of him interview-wise and so on. So I might just grab him in and have a quick chat about how the race unfolded from his point of view. He came home a little bit further down tonight. He came home in 22nd position, 18 laps down. Was still running at the end, according to the results. So let's see what he's got to say. Riley Curtis, Edward Foster from the Performance e-streaming commentary box. Probably not the finish that you were looking forward to tonight, but how the race unfolded from your point of view?
Came in quite late, didn't qualify, just ran laps to try and log something, and started quite well, worked my way up into the top 10 and came undone slightly by other people's grief.
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of crazy stuff sort of going on in the mid pack, which is always sort of around where you were sort of lingering around with a few of those other guys who are, I guess, known for being quite aggressive. In terms of the way in which that was all playing out, what was it like being in the middle of it?
No fun when you're getting hit from pillar to post at some points there. Some people cause it more than others, but it was interesting. It's racing. It's going to be always like that at a short track, so take what you can, and if you do lose, then so be it.
So, what do we think of the racing tonight? Obviously, it was quite hectic. It was almost violent. But in terms of the way that the track was behaving, the grooves that were sort of emerging, it seemed a lot of people were sort of favouring that higher line on the longer runs. But some people were able to get some moves done down low as well. How did you find it?
Grip. I found grip everywhere over the track. You just had to be a lot more careful of sliding tyres and being able to turn it properly on the low line. Something Jason successfully. He ended up winning. So,
yeah, obviously notching his first win of the season. So he was quite pleased with that, and hopefully we'll get to see you running back up the front where you belong pretty soon as well. So just in closing, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Bloke's Advice. They've come on board, helping us out, giving us a shout out and whatnot. Riley Curtis Design as well, myself, and just ANZCAR and Performance e-streaming in general for running everything.
All right, so that was Riley Curtis. He finished down in 22nd position tonight, but hopefully he will be able to bounce back and get a much better result in our next round at Talladega, because the old Riley Curtis Designs crew have been quite successful at the super speedways of late, and I know that they'll definitely be aiming to get a good result at Talladega next time out. So I guess just summing up, Daniel, crazy race, especially in the mid-pack. And after all of that, would you agree that it's time to forgive Iowa Speedway?
Oh, 100%. I thought that was an excellent race. These guys, there was pretty decent green flag runs, which was like mixed everything up. The trucks were getting all over the place. But what this has done for the actual points, I've got the points up. Chris Burnell still manages to lead 1 point over Jason Williams. Danson's fallen back a place, minus 11 points from the lead. Skurlock's jumped 4, also tied third, minus 11 points. And Callow in 5th place, 17 points back.
Wow. So we've got quite a fight coming up. And even after we saw Jason Williams get wrecked, he still manages to pick up points in the championship and move up positions in the championship. So it's quite remarkable the way this season's turning out. It's really turning into a very entertaining series for everyone to watch. I know I'm enjoying it thoroughly. And I think it's definitely time to forgive Iowa Speedway and start to look forward to the races here, because tonight was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. This season's been unreal. It's been awesome to commentate and watch and be able to broadcast for Performance e-streaming. And I've had a lot of fun watching these guys. And tonight there was that much beating and banging going on. They kept it straight. They kept battling. It was just unreal there in the mid-pack.
Yeah, a little bit jealous. I kind of almost want to be out there myself. It's been so good, but knowing my luck, I would have been one of those guys facing the wrong way with the field piling into them. But what we might do is just have a quick look at the full results of this race. We had quite a big field here tonight, as mentioned. But as we covered off earlier on, we have Jason Martin taking his first victory of the season, and it's certainly been a long time between drinks for him, but he led 68 laps, the most of anyone tonight as well, so he's done a fantastic job. And they're in second place, and no coincidence that those two guys up there in first and second, only two trucks with 0 incidents as well, so kept it very, very clean. Josh Carroll-Walden there in P2. Michael Skurlock in third place, probably the biggest winner tonight. Only 4 incidents for him, and rounding out that top 3. And I think he's going to be really the big winner in terms of points out of tonight. Then going back a bit further, we've got Dave Douglas and Damon Stockton. Ben Doherty, Gavin Sadler finally gets himself a decent result on the board without getting turned around by someone. So great to see him getting up there as well. Then we've got Ricky Cornwall, James Robbie, Jason Bent. Solid run from him. We didn't really talk too much about him tonight, but he got a solid run to finish inside the top 10. Bradley Cheney, nice result from him too in 11th. Jason Williams, Aaron Wilton, Jake Maloney struggled a little bit tonight by his very high standards. Lewis Hewitt in 15th position. Didn't he come close to something very special tonight? Dropping out of the running with a very short amount of time to go and a couple of laps to go. Then back to Darren McKenzie, Kyle Stevens, Nick Walsh, Chris Purnell, championship leader, ended up getting disqualified. We need to look into that, the reason he actually dropped out, but we know he was certainly involved in a number of incidents tonight, 16 incident points in total for him. The other guy who's fairly far up there in the championship, finishing in 20th position, is Jackson Callow. And then Reece Saunders finished in 21st, which is exactly, I believe, where he 21st position was not where he started. He started up there on the front row, of course, but he had the fastest lap of the race with a 23.412, but unfortunately made a couple of errors and cost him very, very dearly. Then moving back a little bit further to Riley Curtis, Matt Hunter, Tristan Koch, Todd Maxfield, Brett Wheeler, John Schultz, Matt Danson, shocker tonight as well, Michael Ladder, Kevin Bomford, Stephen Williams, and Mick Taylor, who did not actually take the start, rounding out the field of 32 trucks tonight. So big field, big event, big race, and wow is all I can say after watching that one.
Yeah, pretty much. And the action doesn't stop next week because I'm probably going to expect a big field, 65 laps around Talladega.
Can't wait for that one. Should be absolutely fantastic. So with thanks to our sponsors here, 131 Web Radio, ANZCAR, and coming to you from Performance E Streaming, thank you very much for watching us all tonight. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll see you again soon. Good night.